Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston. We are coming up on rodeo season. For more than 100 years, black cowboys have played an essential role in Fort Bend County ranching and operations. For one ranch in particular, 4 generations of black cowboys worked alongside 4 generations of the George family, leaving behind a unique and rich heritage to this part of Texas. Here to share an upcoming event in honor of their legacy is Debra Greenwood-Sharp and cowboy Perry Petitt with the George Ranch Rodeo. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
When we think about cowboys in the Wild Wild West, we generally see the picture that Hollywood has painted for us.
Correct.
And who's left out of that story is we had all kinds of races involved. You know, you had the Hispanic cowboys, but the black cowboy as well.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I tell you, we're living a legacy here at the, first of all, on behalf of the Fort Bend History Association and the George Ranch, we want to thank you for allowing us to be here.
We love celebrating different parts of our community.
To just showcase what we have to offer out in Fort Bend County. The rodeo, the George Ranch, February 16th. It's an all-day event. It's a family fun event. Lots of children events. We have mutton busting for the children. We also have slacks for the full day. And then we have a grand entry parade that begins at 6:30.
So it's going to be entertaining, but it's also going to be educational.
Very much.
Estimated
Very
1
much.
in 4 cowboys were black after the Civil War.
Yes.
Yeah. And people didn't realize that they were the field hands. They were the labor, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And then the interesting part about that, Deborah, is that Fort Bend County, for the historical George Ranch, 90% of the cowboys were black.
Oh, wow.
At that time.
Okay.
90%.
And the cowboy spirit runs deep in both of your families.
Oh,
what about for you? And what made you decide that? And we say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a firefighter. I'm going to be a police officer. I'm going to be a cowboy.
Well, back in my younger days, I used to go out with my uncle. I had an uncle that was a rodeo, and he worked in the rodeo. He rode horses, he rode calves. And so, through the years, watching him, I wanted to do this. At least I thought I wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, to make a long story short, you know, working and being out there with him, I got to learn to be with the cowboys. I got to know what the cowboys do. And, you know, something that I felt like I wanted to do as I got older.
Yeah. What in particular? Like, what did your day look like?
Day looked like, well, I get off the bus. I went to school at the time. I was still a young fellow. I go to school, get off the bus, get out there. We get the horses prepared. All his friends come around. We get the calves loaded. We put them in the chute. And then my job was just to keep pushing them through, and they was roping. I was still a little fella, you know.
Yeah.
So all I did was just push the calves. And then after all the activities went and they get through practicing, my job was to get on the horses and just kind of walk them around to cool them down after being used doing the
working the ranch.
Working on
All right,
the ranch.
Deborah, you're a member of the Fort Bend History Association's Board of Trustees, and it's kind of a way for you to honor the history of your relatives as well.
Yes, I have 2 uncles which we're highlighting for the first rodeo this year. My Uncle Buddy and Uncle Little Buddy, but their biological names are Willie and James Thomas. And they began riding bulls out at the ranch because they was born on the ranch at that time. And Mr. George, who was the ranch owner, would sit out and from eating breakfast, and he would see them out playing with the hogs, and what they would do, pigs, which are larger hogs.
They would literally ride the pigs too, wouldn't they? They'd ride anything.
Would. They would take the barbed wire from the fence and put it on their shoes, and they would spur the pigs to make them stand still, and they would get on them and grab their ears, and they would ride them. So Mr. George found that hilarious, but he also saw the fact that they had a talent that was inside of them. So he took that, and he took that on, and they went on to ride in Madison Square Garden. They also ran, my Uncle Little Buddy was the bareback rider. Uncle Big Buddy, which is Willie, was a bull rider who's in the Texas Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So there's another story to be told here.
Yes.
We certainly know, we think, you know, you turn back the time and there was a moment where there was segregation, there were race issues, the whole bit, but there are many more stories. My mom tells me stories of times that they wouldn't have eaten had the white store owner not said, here, take this and don't worry about it. There were stories where people helped each other. You know, my mom's family helped the white family down the street and never even thought about it. This is a great story of how, and I think the reason why this area in particular, Houston, Fort Bend, that we get along.
Yes.
And so speak to that there was a mutual respect.
The respect that they had was for the furtherance of growing and getting stronger as a family, as a unit, as a race as well. So what they would do is they would help each other out. The Georges were very kind, so they gave diligently to the people that was on their ranch. So the people out at the ranch in turn shared with all the other people in the community, which strengthened the community and made us stronger as a family and as a unit.
The other thing that strengthens a community and a household
yes.
is hard work, right? What did you
Yes.
learn by doing that as a child?
Well, you learn to have responsibilities. You know, you learn what you put in is what you get out. If you don't put but a little bit in, you don't get but a little bit out.
Yeah.
And not just in rodeoing and being cowboys, that's in anything in life.
Yeah. True
And so, you know, it learns that you build respect and, you know, and respect the people around you.
Yes.
All right, the George Ranch Historical Park. Tell folks about that. I mean, it's like down the street and around the corner from all of us, so a lot of folks might not know about it. An amazing place to be.
Oh, it is super amazing. Every time I go out there, I channel my grandparents because my grandmother was the housekeeper for Mrs. George, and my grandfather was the chauffeur / cook / butler for Mr. George.
Confidant, everything.
Oh,
probably,
yes,
yeah.
exactly. So the history that is there, it runs really deep. And every time I go out there, it's just great. It's so peaceful, and it's a large arena. There's so much to see out there.
Yeah.
People should come out.
They offer tours of historic homes.
Yes.
You can interact with interpreters. You can meet
Yes.
blacksmiths, like the old-fashioned way of getting stuff
Yes.
done, right? You can see cowboys rope and sort cattle, and see
Yes.
cattle swim through the dipping. What is
The
that?
dipping pool.
thing?
Dipping pool.
Dipping pool.
Dipping pool.
Okay. All right. It's open to schools and youth groups, and to me,
Yes.
you can describe as much as you want out of a book. You know what life was like back then, but you get a much better glimpse of it when you can see a real working ranch like
Yes.
that. Adult groups, families, individuals, you can all go out there and just plan your tours and things.
Right, and the great thing about it is that, as the educational purposes, is that all the employees are dressed in character.
Oh, nice.
As you go out there, so it's like it takes you a step back in time,
Yeah.
so you can live in that moment and see what it's like.
Yeah, we have obviously the big rodeo, the biggest one in the world that
yes.
comes down here to Houston, but we have the smaller rodeos right there where all of these things kind of got started. You know, it's like the wagon wheel. And you may
Yes.
come into town, you know, a few weeks out of the year, but
But
all year long, this
still
life
going
happens
on.
all
Oh,
around
yes.
the city of Houston.
Every day,
Yeah.
each day,
Oh my gosh,
from
this-
sun up to sundown.
This will be a great event. Thank you two very much. The first
for
annual
having us.
George Ranch Rodeo will be held on Saturday, February 16th. The event will be all day and is located at the George Ranch Historical Park Arena. For more information and tickets, visit childrengeorgeranch.org. Remember, children 3 and under get in for the best price of all. What is that? Free. By the way, you mentioned that people will be dressed up.
Yes.
Here's a belt here. Where's that belt from?
I am so honored and proud, Deborah. This is my uncle, Little Buddy, who is James Thomas. He was a professional bareback rider, and this is his buckle belt from 1969.
And the cool thing is, she
Yes.
says, and it fits her. She's wearing it for rodeo.
Yes, I am. Proudly wearing it. Thank you.